so cold outside, I'm snowed in, and I'm ready to talk about Chihayafuru. Hey, I was like, I had today off because I'm snowed in. I'm stuck in my house. And so I was like, yeah, we have an episode of Chihayafuru that we need to get to. So that's what we shall be doing today. And it's episode 45, episode 20 of season 2. And so we won. We won! Mizusawa winning is so crazy. I would not have guessed it. I am so excited, especially to see where we go to from here. So I do have some comments that have come in for episodes 16, 17, and 18 that I want to talk to you all about before we dive into this episode. So this will be a little bit of a lengthy introduction, but y'all are used to that with Chihayafuru. Ringyokus says, if we had a live action, there are in fact 3 to 4 live action Chihayafuru movies and a live action sequel series. Well, I don't want to know anything about those. Nope, don't want to know anything about those. Those are very spoilery. We do not want spoilers. I will say, I'm not a big reactor for live action adaptations of anime. I've done it a couple of times with Donmai and Donghua, because the demand was so high, but do not expect me to react to any live action Chihayafuru. It's just, there's so many sports anime left to go. I just don't think I will get around to it. Maybe in my own time when I'm caught up. But also, I don't think I want to look at the sequel series because the manga has not been adapted into anime. So the live actions are off the table for right now. But that is good to know. Good to know for them. Foranoda says for episodes 16 and 17, saying episode 16's poem of the day is another repeat from the recap episode last season, actually. The poem 26, Autumn Leaves, by Fujiwara no Tadahira, a Japanese noble who had a very involved life in politics. His descendants would go on to establish the Fujiwara clan as a political power through intermarriage with the imperial family. Translated by Mosto, O autumn leaves on the peak of Ogura Hill, if you have a heart, I would that you would wait for one more royal progress. As with the recap and Omeki segments, it seems we're on pause for one episode before the action continues. So, poem of the day for episode 17 is Gust of Wind. Poem 22 is composed by Funya no Yasuhide, an early Heian period poet included in the Rakusen and the 36 Poetry Immortals. His son was Funya no Asayasu of poem 37. In the Kokinshu Kanajo Japanese preface, he is described as using words skillfully, but his words do not match the content. His poetry is like a merchant dressed up in elegant clothes. Mosto translates the poem as soon as it blows, the autumn trees and grasses droop, and this must be why. Quite rightly, the mountain wind is called the Ravager. While Jilit translates it as soon as it blows, the autumn trees and grasses start to droop and fade. The reason, it seems, a mountain wind has come to be called a tempest. Ooh, I really like that. Foranoda here. It's J-Lit. Oh, but I get pronouncing it G-Lit. I did the same at first. Goes on to explain, as remarked by Macmillan. So yeah, so J-Lit. Well, why is there an I there? If it's J-Lit, why is there an I? Y'all, if you're going to have it be J-Lit, why'd you put an I there? That's just making it confusing. Macmillan says the meaning of the poem relies on the visual and semantic wordplay that defies easy translation. The Japanese word arashi, or storm, or tempest, derives from a verb that means devastate or to lay waste to. The verb would normally be written with a specific Chinese character signifying violent or fierce. At the same time, the Chinese character used to write the noun arashi is a combination of ideographs for mountain and wind. The poet playfully refers to the word's etymology to make the point that the fierce autumn winds that blow off the mountains can be said to lay waste to the foliage of summer. It is a pretty slight verse. They also elucidate a little bit more in their footnotes. Line 1, it blows as soon as. Line 2, autumns, grass and trees as 4. Line 3, because, fade, and droop, a combination of the word shioru and the particle ba, indicating cause or reason. I love this breakdown. It's great. Line 4, one understands, implying speculation. Mountain and wind, an accusative particle. Line 5 is tempest, a quotation particle. Call, would seem why. Ramu is a particle indicating supposition about cause. It is connected grammatically with the preceding mube to mean something like one sees this would be the reason for calling a mountain wind a tempest. I love that last line though. Adding to what Combo, another commenter in the Reddit threads I'm yoinking these from, mentioned yesterday and today, we have the imagery of a threatening mountain wind for the Yama in the Yamashiro Rion against the drooping autumn foliage as a symbol to represent Chihaya's cards, mirroring the destruction that Fujisaki lays waste to Mizusawa's. Moreover, Ravager and Tempest is anything but controlled or gentle, which is exactly why Rion is, and she ends up hurting Chihaya's finger, the drooping foliage. I also thought about this. They were pointing out in the comparison of Chihaya as Goku. Does that make Shinobu Vegeta? And if that is the case, does that make Taichi Chi-Chi and Arata Bulma? Is that how we're going to make this ship work? Is that how you all are going to convince me to ship Taichi and Chihaya by making it Chi-Chi and Goku? Maybe. I mean, Chi-Chi's dad was very wealthy, so... and Arata's really smart, but Arata's dad was Bulma's dad was a scientist, and, well, it could work. We'll see. We'll see, but thank you for Noda. I really appreciate that. I Hate Piano for episode 18 says there's only a handful of advanced readers. Since it's a small world with a limited number of readers, if the rules prohibit relatives from participating as players, either the reader or the player would have to retire. Furthermore, in the context of the anime, I think it's less about Rion's advantage and more about her fragility from her fixation on a single reader. A good player needs to be able to adapt to various types of readers. I'm not arguing that. If you have a system that's prone, I don't know, traditions be damned. If you have a system that's prone to such a blatant advantage, I don't know, I would change it, but I'm not Japan. I'm not Karuta. I work in an industry that I competed in, very much like Karuta, where you make changes and evolve, but I'm also American, not Japanese, so what can we do? And that kind of goes with Grace for episode 18, saying... the readers, we're going to talk about this, saying, I wonder if the thing about practicing a lot making you confident is the source of Arata and Shinobu's strength and confidence, since they've been practicing all the time since they were very little, so more time than all the characters we've been following. Nishida would probably get up there, so I don't know about that. I fully agree with you about the morality of a grandmother reading for her granddaughter, but they couldn't have swapped. This part I was like, damn it. They're like, Yamashiro is reading for both the third place match and the finale. It's one reader for all the matches. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I cracked the code. I was literally that meme where I'm like, I've connected the dots, and they're like, you've connected shit. I was like, no, I've connected the dots. Damn it. But then Grace does point out this. I thought it was well to note. Readers can actually sell their records. That's what the players listen to when they don't have anyone to read for them. Remember all the tapes Arata had in his room when he was a child and he played Chihaya for the first time? What's impressive is Suo going and looking to record it himself. It hadn't hit me, but yeah, I guess I hadn't taken into account that they could sell their records. I just imagined it was just somebody reading, but I didn't think it was the actual certified readers and you could actually kind of tailor it. That does make me think that Suo cares more about Karuta than he's letting on, because if he went to go find the reader himself and go through all that trouble, that seems interesting. Grace also pointed out on Sunday, January 11th, it was the Queen and Meijin matches, which this was shared in the Discord, and I thought it was so cool to see actual images of the Karuta players. I watched them on the official Karuta Association channel here on YouTube, and they were amazing. Watching the real thing makes you truly appreciate Chihayafuru even more. There were 4 matches for the Meijin and 3 for the Queen. I recommend you watching Game 2 for the Queen and Game 4 for the Meijin if you don't have 10 hours of your life to watch all of them. It's always a blast when they call the Chihayafuru card. One interesting fact is that the Queen and the challenger from this year are from the same club. And in the case of the Meijin match, it's the same finale as last year, where the current Meijin had defeated the previous one who came back as a challenger this year to take his title back. It was a battle of the new versus the old. That's so freaking cool. I haven't had a chance to go watch the match yet, but I actually want to go look it up. So I appreciate Grace pointing that out. Thank you very much. And then finally, S Anime said, I wanted to look up the poem and talk about the characterization we get for Taichi in this episode. The poem goes, my fear is that you will forget your promise to never forget me. So I would prefer to die now while I'm still happy. Well, that's not heartbreaking at all. I agree that if we apply the poem to Taichi, then I think you are right that Taichi doesn't want to be forgotten by Chihaya, and I would say by Arata as well. I think there's a side of Taichi that is jealous of Arata and wants to forget him to create distance between himself and Arata because of his romantic feelings for Chihaya, which is why he's happy to forget, as he says. But he can't fully forget because, as Taichi says, he's bad at forgetting. He can't forget their promise that they made as children, and he can't forget the beautiful memories that they've shared. Despite Taichi's conflicted feelings, remembering Arata is encouraging for Taichi because Arata is genuinely the one person his age who acknowledged Taichi and was friends with him for who he is despite his faults, and all that became a reason for Taichi to change and improve through Karuta. I say that he is the one person because Chihaya is not aware of their conversation as kids of Arata calling Taichi out for being a coward. And so I feel that Chihaya has a different perspective on Taichi than Arata does. I would agree with that, absolutely. I'm thinking more about the poem and Taichi's character and upbringing. I do think for Taichi that he believes that Karuta is what ties him to Arata and Chihaya. And so while Taichi is using Karuta for self-improvement and striving to become someone who won't run away, I also feel Taichi's desperation to improve is not so to be left behind by Chihaya and Arata, which has kind of come up in this match. And yeah, we've talked about that in the discussions. Considering that Taichi was probably only given positive reinforcement at home when he won, it wouldn't surprise me if subconsciously there's a fear or anxiety for Taichi that his relationship with Chihaya and Arata will only last if he plays at their level of Karuta. Yeah, I feel that too, which we all know as the audience, Chihaya and Arata could care less if Taichi is good at Karuta or not. I mean, Chihaya values Kana and Tsutomu just as much as Nishida and Taichi, and they're not in the same rank. So we as the audience know that that's not the case. But it's understandable why Taichi would think that in, moving forward. So we'll see where that goes because Taichi did cause them to win the match. So maybe he's proven himself. Maybe he's turning a leaf. Maybe we're turning a corner. And I don't know. I'm really excited for that. And I realize I have talked for way too long, but y'all, I'm so excited to see what happens this episode. It's the aftermath episode after the finals. We cornered Arata and are making Arata like, he better be talking to Chihaya. That's all I've got to say. I'm going to be mad if he doesn't talk to her, but I guess we'll have to find out. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody's comments and support, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to start episode 45, aka episode 20 of season 2 of Chihayafuru, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. Well. And Chihayafuru giveth and Chihayafuru taketh away. Oh my gosh. This episode was kind of a roller coaster, honestly. And a roller coaster of things that I thought were amazing and things that really frustrated me. So let's dive into this, shall we? We're going to do some screenshots to kind of, because there's not much to bring Whiteboard Kun out for, really. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. Not when you took 3 minutes to get into the new episode. Like, we had a major, this episode was I hate recaps. Recaps frustrate me so much. And the montage was really egregious in this episode. I was like, okay, show, we get it. You're trying to get to a certain point to stop at, to make the season fit in, because we only have like 4 episodes left after this. We have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. We have 5 episodes left. Which I get, you're trying to squeeze it all in, but at the same time, I'm like, it was the multiple, like, the recap at the beginning of this episode before the OP, the only extra thing we got to see is that she's chipped her finger, but then the stuff at the end when her and Taichi were next to each other, I'm like, what? That was not necessary, but I get why they did it. They're trying to fit it in for the episode. So, we start our episode off, the fall PADDY Shacks. where we're getting all this together. I think the Empress deserves an MVP award because this woman, she not only, as a coach, I understand what she's doing. Like, the Empress has all of my sympathy because I know what it's like to have a group of young adults and being like, okay, you need to go do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, let me get all this settled, I have to go from here, there. There was another moment in this episode where I thought, I know exactly what she's going through, and I could relate so hard to her in that moment. So the Empress deserves an MVP award because she was doing a lot in this episode. And then I like Chihaya's just like, hey, is there like a hospital still open? Like, just, Chihaya, I love that Chihaya doesn't draw attention to herself and she's not trying to be over dramatic. She's just like, hey, if there's like an ER open, I'm gonna, just check in. No big deal. It's all fine. Like, I appreciated that. But also like the Empress here where she's like, I need to write an invoice. I need to do this. Like, there is so much that your coach, if you're on a competitive team, there's so much your coach has to do in terms of like organizing and paperwork and getting things aligned. It's a lot of work, especially like in the moment, because you also have a group of people you're watching over as well. So I like that she put Taichi in charge. He is the captain, so she put him in charge, of the team and getting things sorted out. And I like Nishida and the others helped out, which was really good. And she's like, if there's a hospital still open. I do like the callback where she's like, oh yeah. She's like, I remember we went to the ER last year when you fainted. We're going to go back to the same facility. By the end of this series, they're going to know her by name. I'm kind of glad that we find out what it is in this episode that's going on with her finger. I'm glad we find out, and I'm glad it's not as bad as it could be, because when like a chipped fracture, like that's not good. Like a fracture, you would think a broken bone would be worse, but honestly, I've had a toe fractured from running, and I think it hurts worse than having a toe broken, because I've had one of those too. And a broken toe you can't do much about. They're just like, it's gonna heal itself. But a toe fracture they give you like a boot for, because it does, the fracture hurts worse than the broken bone does. It's like in my opinion, from my experience, it does anyway. I've had my toes stepped on by cows and stuff and like toes broken, so I get how that works. But I'm glad that it wasn't anything with her tendons. I was afraid when they said it was a chip fracture in her finger. I'm like, okay, the fracture will heal unless it gets like an infection or something. You got to watch for that. But a fracture will usually heal over time, and then it'll get to be where, my toe doesn't bother me at all now, even though it's been years since. Tendons, when you get in the tendons and the muscles and like tears and stuff like that, that's when it gets more serious, because you hear about athletes that have like ACL tears and like ligaments. That's when it gets a little, like, you're a little bit nerve-wracking there. This, it's like, oh, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. It's going to be great. So I'm glad we can actually visibly see it too, because I was afraid it was going to be one of those injuries where you can't really tell what's wrong, and those usually have a lot of problems that go with them. I did feel for Taichi in this moment, because he's just kind of like, he didn't get really a chance to like celebrate with Chihaya. She immediately goes to the emergency room after, and he doesn't get like a moment to kind of like reflect with her. He has to kind of do it on his own. Although it does lead to him and Arata having a conversation, which we'll get into this, because they're like, yeah, the individual tournament's tomorrow. And Taichi knows how much this means to Chihaya, so of course he's concerned about her, and Nishida's like, well, we need to start packing everything up. But I felt for him. You could see here he like felt bad for her and wanted to help, but he really couldn't do anything. So then there's Arata. I'm like, so at the end of last episode, when she like has this heartfelt confession about teams and how important the teams are, all he said to her was, yeah. And then he goes off with Taichi and has this conversation about teams, but he couldn't like say anything more about what... I'm a little bit frustrated with the mangaka at this point when it comes to Arata and Chihaya, because I'm like, it feels to me as if the mangaka is trying to create a Taichi Chihaya agenda. And I'm not mad at that. After last episode, I'm like, okay, I can see Taichi starting to get some character development, and Sumire is having the whole love triangle thing conversation, which I'm like, yes, Sumire, we'll talk about that. But I'm like, if you're going to build an actual love triangle, then you have to have parts of the triangle talking to each other. And you're not having Arata and Chihaya talk, which they're right in front of each other. There are chances for them to have a conversation, and it's not happening. And I don't want to say it's bad writing on the mangaka's part, but I'm kind of like, I'm a bit frustrated the mangaka isn't doing anything. They're just conveniently making these conveniences. And we'll talk about when him and Chihaya are literally right next to each other. No internal monologue, no reason why Chihaya can't talk to this man. We've been building the whole damn series up to her talking to him, and you're just not going to do it? The fudge is up with that. Like, come on, series, what are we doing? Like, it's very frustrating for me as somebody who's been waiting for these moments to happen. And then when they're all together, nothing happens. And I'm like, what's the point of building our suspense up when nothing's going to happen? I'm like, what is the point? So I just, anyway, so we'll get into it. But yeah, so Taichi gives this gift to Arata gives this gift to Taichi, be like, here's some manju I got for you. And he's like, oh, some of their famous manju. And that's when he sees Chihaya walking away. He's like, what happened to Chihaya? And communication doesn't exist, apparently, in this world. I am so mind blown by there are moments where just basic communication could occur, and there is no reason for it not to occur, except Taichi is still viewing Arata as his rival, as his enemy. And I'm like, so Taichi doesn't tell Arata what's going on, so Arata has no clue. Why Arata didn't ask the next day is that it just feels like bad writing. It feels like bad writing on the mangaka's part when you're not having your characters who are observing and seeing basic things connect the next day with those basic things. Like Arata has seen Chihaya get taken away. So the obvious clear-cut common sense thing is, hey, what happened? You were gone last night. While we're walking into this match, I know we're supposed to be in a game mindset, but I care about you. So what was going on? Unless Arata doesn't care about her, but I don't think that's the case. And I'm like, just a simple ask. Like, just connect the dots from point A to point B. Like, this is not hard writing. Like, just, as an English teacher and a writer, it's very frustrating to watch. I'm like, what are we doing? And then Taichi's like, oh, are you walking to the station too? And he's like, no, my uncle's picking me up. And so Arata, he's like, oh. And so before we get to this next scene, we do get a little reprieve where Sudo is like, get your asses in gear. Get in shape, bitches. He's like, we're going to be fighting in the individual tournament, so you better do something, Hokuo. We're sprinting to the station, you wimps. I love that Sudo's like about to whip him into shape. And then we get the next group, which is the Akashi Girls School. And they're all just like, they're just over it. They're like, we got 4th place, whatever, we're done. I do like when they both watch and see Megumu walk away. Megumu's not happy. And I do like that little callback to where Megumu is, before when they did the flashback of her, she wasn't frustrated. She was just kind of like, oh, I didn't win, but it's okay. Now that she's gotten a taste of it and she actually wants it, now she's frustrated that she didn't win. She's given the we call it the sad panda face. We're like, she's kind of upset about it. So yeah, I like that we get to see that with her. So then Sumire is like, excuse me, you mean Arata, Taichi, and Chihaya are childhood friends? And Arata's like, well, yes. And Sumire is like, oh my God, what kind of balance is this? She's like, huh. And Nishida's like, well, yeah, when you put it that way. He's like, I'm childhood friends with Retro-kun. I'm like, Nishida, you don't need to be creating ships with you in Retro. I mean, your sister's dating him. You don't need to do that. She's like, what kind of balance? And then she's like, childhood friends. Like, she's not listening. I love that. I smell a love triangle in the air. I don't, because this mangaka is not doing any damn thing for a love triangle. They really aren't. I'm like, what the fudge are we doing? So, yeah. She's like, a love triangle. Well, Chihaya would need to recognize. And she's like, is your school co-ed? And he's like, what's your type? Do you have a girlfriend? I like that Sumire like, I need to know all these facts. These are very important things that I need to know before I can like write the rest of my fan fiction. And she's like, this is very important. I love that Kana says, show some restraint. But then she says, I understand how you feel. She's like, I know. I want to know the same thing. So they go on ahead, leave our 2 boys. Mm-hmm. He's like, that's amazing, Taichi. That girl knows how to play Karuta. And then Taichi's like, oh, she's a beginner. But Chihaya worked hard to recruit them. Really? This scene I liked a lot because you had Taichi and Arata like facing opposite directions. And I feel like Taichi understands Chihaya and the work that she's done to recruit for the team. And Chihaya is not just, Chihaya reveres the team that was her and Arata and Taichi from elementary school. She reveres it. She idolizes it. She draws back to it for inspiration constantly. So I feel it's interesting. I didn't bring White Word Kun out for this episode, but I feel like if there was anything to comment on with connections, I feel like Chihaya and Arata both have this very idealized kind of worship for that original team, for that OG team. It was like lightning in a bottle. It was the best. But Taichi's kind of, I don't feel like Taichi is a romantic in the sense of nostalgia. Taichi is a romantic in terms of the present, most definitely. But Taichi does not get nostalgic. Taichi's not nostalgic about the past like Chihaya and Arata both are. He very much is like, well, now we're working with this new team, and team's really important to Chihaya, and that's what she feels now. Arata is thinking back on the past, right? Because here, he's like, team, and then he's like, in my mind, he says, the only team for me is the one I had with you and Chihaya. That's pretty romantic. Like, in that moment, Arata is having this nostalgic moment, and he's, like, looking at the moon. It's very romanticized, and he's basically like, I'm mainly just here for a threesome. It's essentially like, Arata's like, the only team for me is the one with you two. He's like, you two are the only ones I would want to be on a team with. And I think that's a big difference to point out, because for Chihaya, her love of Karuta is her wanting everyone to play Karuta, and she wants to teach people to love it as much as she does. And so for her, you're like, anybody's welcome on the team. She's like, I'd welcome any of you. Arata admitting that he likes the concept of team, but only when it's that original group, is kind of showing that in terms of their relationship, Arata's kind of stuck in the past, which is interesting. Taichi is focused only on the future. Arata is stuck in the past, and Chihaya is like functioning in just the present. So it's funny to see this past, present, future motif established between the three of them. But I'm saying that you guys are the only ones for me, and Taichi's like, and I want, if this series was not a bunch of cowards, I would ship Taichi and Arata 100%. But I know that will never happen in this series. So whenever there's like no possible chance, I'm like, it kind of just deters me from wanting to ship it. But I would ship Taichi and Arata. I would if the show wasn't cowards and they'd let it happen. But here, he's just like, oh, sorry, that must make me seem creepy. And he kind of blushes there. I'm like, no, you're not creepy. The problem with this whole exchange is that Taichi is not going to communicate with Arata like he should, because he views Arata as a rival. And that is preventing him from communicating fully with him. So it's kind of understandable why he's acting like this. He's like, on a different subject, he's like, I'm planning to go to college in Tokyo. Now, I thought Arata was the same age as Chihaya and Taichi. So basically, they're both second years now. So what he's saying is that after he graduates high school, he's going to go to college in Tokyo, so he'll be near them. So he's going to move to the same area. He doesn't even care which college he goes to. He's just going into the same area as them. Buddy, no, buddy. So that makes Taichi, of course, his jealousy like flare up. He's like, which college? He's like, only place I can get a scholarship. He's like, I'm not picky. I just want to move to Tokyo. And Taichi's like red flag radar immediately goes off, because to Taichi's whole thing is he's like, I've been close to Chihaya this whole time. I have proximity to my advantage. Arata's far away. He'll never be around her. And now Arata's like, yeah, in a year I'm going to move here and go to school here. So I'll be near you and Chihaya all the time. And Arata's not thinking of it in terms of romance. Arata's probably just thinking, oh, it'll be more competition. I can get more with Karuta. I can see you guys more often. Taichi's jealousy flares up, and all Taichi can see is this man is coming into my territory. And he's going to try to sweep Chihaya off her feet, which is not even on the table with Arata, as we'll talk about later, which is frustrating. But one thing that is worth noting is Arata saying here, he's like, I'm going to win the individual tournament tomorrow, and I'm going to go to Tokyo. There's just that level. I love the bright red lights. It makes it makes Arata look eerie. It makes him look almost sinister in this light, which we're seeing it from Taichi's perspective, so that makes sense. But from this perspective, Arata's like, I'm going to do it. And the thing is, Taichi overthinks everything and doubts himself so much that I don't think Taichi can wrap his mind around this mindset. That Arata has just decided, he's like, I know I'm good. I'm going to win tomorrow. And when I go, we know now the deal he's made with his family is he gets to go to a college in Tokyo if he can win the tournament. Now, whether or not it's going to happen or not is a whole different story. But Taichi is like, I could never. Taichi's just gotten to the point where he can trust himself in an actual game, much less make a prediction and a proclamation like this and have the fortitude to go through with it. And to Taichi, that's just unheard of. He's like, what? I can't imagine that. And he's like, Tokyo. So Arata's coming to Tokyo. Which, I mean, that's a year out. That's a year out, my dude. You've got a year and a half to figure out what you're going to do, right? He's like, oh, that's my uncle's car. So he's like, bye, Taichi. I'll see you tomorrow. And Taichi's just left with his thoughts. He says, Arata, Chihaya wants to be on a team with you again. But I don't. There's a part of me that hates that. I hate that because I'm like, Taichi is still so insecure. I'm like, we've made such good strides. We made such good strides. But that insecurity, he doesn't want to be on a team with Arata. He's like, because he just feels like his insecurity would be too much. If they're going to college, though, I guess maybe if they were on a college team, if there was a college circuit, I don't know if there is or not, but I guess maybe if they were in the same Karuta society, no. Because I'm like, they're not going to be on the same high school team unless Arata moves to their school to prep for the Tokyo college. Unless that's the case, then he would be. But Taichi doesn't want that. He's like, I don't want that because you're my enemy. And Arata's like, what? Did you say something? There's a part of me that feels bad for Arata because Arata has no clue that Taichi feels this way about him. He has no idea that Taichi loves Chihaya. He has no idea. He has no clue that Taichi views him as his rival because he doesn't tell him. He's just like, oh, we're childhood friends. And I know you've got these issues, but I have my issues. But we're all sunshine and rainbows, right? He has no idea. And I wish this feels like such a missed opportunity because I wish Taichi would declare to him and be like, we're rivals. You're my enemy. I don't want you to be near Chihaya because I want to be near Chihaya. And even though there's a lot of problems with that statement, I wish Taichi would put his feelings out in the open so that Arata would have a chance to respond to them, so that Chihaya would have a chance to respond to them, because I feel like both Arata and Chihaya deserve that opportunity, but they don't get the chance because Taichi's not vocalizing it. And maybe if Taichi wins this and becomes Class A rank, maybe that's what it's leading towards, is Taichi winning the tournament for Class B and then becoming A rank. Maybe he's waiting until that moment and then he's going to go to Arata at the end of the season, be like, you're my rival. You don't get to just come to Tokyo without facing me and blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's building up to that, but if it's not, then I wish he would say something here about it. And Taichi just says, no, I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm like, these two. So we find out that it's a fracture. This doctor, she was like Dr. Spachimin from 30 Rock, or the doctor from Arrested Development being like, I don't quite know what's wrong with your hand, but I mean, if you're just putting cards around it, she seems so like quirky for a doctor. I was like, I'd get a second opinion. I would take them up on that second opinion. She seems like she's not messed with a lot of fractures before. She might be new on the job. Just, what a kooky doctor. And then I like that her version of Karuta is like, wow, you're good, got it. And they're like, no, it's more intense than that. Like, well, you probably shouldn't be doing anything intense. The bone could be weakened. So they recommend that you give up. And Chihaya is not going to do that. One thing I do want to talk about is I love how Sumire and Kana have developed their friendship. It's super sweet. I like that they've gotten closer as the series has gone on. It's really cute. But yeah, so then the Empress is like, I gotta go take care of things. I'll go get dinner. And they just leave Chihaya to herself. Now, this part here, I thought when she saw Taichi, she was going to fall asleep like back to back with him. And then he was going to wake up. Again, I don't understand what's happening in this episode. Again, this feels like such a missed opportunity. We don't get to see what happens at the end of the one conversation. I guess that's all we get. We've built up seeing Arata face to face for 45 episodes. And then it's just, oh, hey, what? And then this moment here where she goes next to Taichi and sits down. I love this moment where she sits down next to him, and it's super sweet, and it's really adorable. I love it. But then we don't get to see any aftermath. Like, we see them the next day. I'm like, did he wake up and see her? What did he think? Did she wake up and just leave the room? What happened? We don't get to see any of that. Nothing happened, apparently, so what was the point? And we don't get to see her. The thing that bothered me was if she had, like, gone back through and we'd seen when we started this like recap, like, okay, we're at the 8-minute 46-second mark. The recap goes all the way up until the recap is not 10 minutes, but it's like, it's a 5-minute recap. Like, we didn't need that. Yeah, it literally is about 5 minutes. And then we go back to her saying thank you. And I like that. It's a very sweet moment. We didn't need 5 minutes of recap, but it's a very sweet moment. But at the same time, if the recap had been all from her perspective and we'd seen all the events re-happening through her perspective, that would have been cool. Or if she had taken this time to like reflect on Taichi and what he had done, because when we actually got the moments of Taichi at the end of the match, it was back to his perspective. So it was just a recap. It felt lazy, and it felt like the episode was just trying to cram in 5 minutes of something because we need to end on this certain point, which it's done before, but this felt like really, it did not go smoothly for me at all. And I'm like, what was the point of falling next to him? Neither of you realize it. I mean, I get that it establishes she's really comfortable around him, but there's literally nothing else. Like, nothing else except she's comfortable around him. And we already knew that because we've watched 45 episodes of them together, right? So she reinforces her finger with some metal to keep her from being too injured. And she's like, I think I can play. And they're like, well, you should probably forfeit. But she would feel too bad otherwise. Y'all know that she would. And I like that the Empress is like, look, I like the Empress is saying, I understand how you feel. You've done well, but you won the team tournament. It's going to be okay. Just don't stress it. And I appreciate that the Empress is trying not to make her play. Again, I've talked about this in episodes past where coaches in sports anime make the players play despite the injury, and it's very frustrating. I appreciate that they don't try to do that in this. However, then Nishida's sister shows up. She looks amazing, by the way. Also want to comment 2 things. 1, her outfit looks incredible. Love the black with the red plaid underneath it. 2, it's Hokuo colors. She's wearing Retro-kun's team colors. The red and the black, while looking fashionable. What a diva. What an icon. Love her. She looks amazing. And she just shoves the shirts into Nishida's hands and runs away. She must have, this speaks a lot to me, because it says congratulations and it says winners. Either one of 2 things. Either she spent all night hand sewing these buttons into the shirts, which it looks like they're at the hotel, so that's probably what happened, which, girl, the ability to hand sew that fast, holy cow. Or she had these at the ready thinking that there was a chance they'd win, which, cheating on your boyfriend's team. She probably hand sewed these tonight. And they're red and black, so my guess is she brought them to put on Hokuo's shirts. They're red and black, so she brought them to put on Hokuo's shirts, and then when they didn't win, she was like, I guess I'll sew them on my brother's team shirts. I think that's what happened, but go Nishida's sister for being able to sew. And then Chihaya's like, nope, I'm going to play wearing this shirt. I can't afford to lose the chance of the drip. Meanwhile, Pseudo, of course, cannot turn down this opportunity to be sadistic. He's like, well, look at this. He's like, if you play and you're weak in the playoffs here individually, they'll say the team is just weak individually, blah, 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 blah. I love that the S in pseudo stands for sadistic. I'm glad Chihaya's grown, though, because she can take on his antics and just be like, no, we're fine. It's okay. She's like, I'm not worried about it. She's like, I haven't forgotten. My goal is to win the individual high school championships in each class. And everybody's like, oh yeah. She did say that at the beginning of this season, didn't she? And then we're now the team high school champions. She's like, we can all make it happen. She's like, let's just win everything. Chihaya's greed knows no bounds. She's like, let's just do it. So we have our class battles. Chihaya and Nishida are class A. Do I think Chihaya is going to win the class A battles? No. I don't think. Do I think there's a possibility Chihaya can beat Yuki? Yeah, I think there is. It's going to be hard, but I think she can. Chihaya's good at, like, she's a late bloomer. She's good at picking up in the second half. But I think she's going to end up using her hand, and that's going to hurt it. So if she wins this matchup, do I think she's going to win against the next person she faces? Probably not. Nishida probably has a good chance, but do I think Nishida can beat Arata and Shinobu? I think it's going to come down to Arata versus Shinobu in the final. I think that's what it's going to come down to, if I'm right. I think that's what's going to happen, right? I think it's going to come down to Arata and Shinobu. We'll see. And then Class C, though, there's all of the other elite teams like Fujisaki and Hokuo and them. They don't have any Class C players. I think that Tsutomu and Kana have an amazing ability to make it up to Class B. I think they can do it. I think they can take Class C and just, like, run with it. And then Class D, I like Sumeri's like, wait, we count? We have to play? I think Scuba can do well. I think Scuba's going to be out for maybe some redemption. He doesn't look like it in the screenshot, but I think he can. Sumire, I think, is going to struggle because she's not been playing for a while now. But I feel like that they're going to be able to do well. And then this whole thing with Win, I think Taichi is going to win Class B. My prediction is that Taichi is going to win Class B to get to Class A. And at the end of this season, or at the end of the individual matches, he's going to make a proclamation to Arata to challenge him as a rival. To be like, I'm Class A now, I'm coming for you. If it were me, if I was the writer, I would be having Chihaya win Class B and make that proclamation to Arata and just make it known. Make it a declaration of war. Make it a declaration of war. If you consider Arata your enemy, make it a declaration of war right now. Which I don't feel like. It's crazy. Taichi has all this agency in this series because we see so much from his perspective. But from Taichi's perspective, he's like, Arata's this enemy. And then you cut to Arata and he's like, I'm just having fun. It's like, I feel like Arata doesn't have any incentive to be Taichi's rival because he doesn't know any better. So I guess we'll see. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, everybody except Rion is Class A. And the coach is like, just dominate. I think Taichi's main struggle is going to be Rion. That would be an interesting matchup because then Taichi would have to face someone who's like Chihaya. And so if Taichi can face someone like Chihaya, I think he'll have the upper hand because he can say in the match, he's like, well, I face somebody like you every day when we practice. I know how you work as a player and with your game sense. And I think that that would be helpful. We'll see how that goes down. And then Sudo's like, if you lose, I'm going to toss you in the lake. But they're all Class A and B. I don't think any of them can beat Taichi at all. All of Akashi are Class A and B. Yeah, same. So this guy is the chairman. He's more into the individual matches, which is interesting. And I like it because he says it's basically brains versus brawn. He's like, when you play in the team matches, it's overall strength. And so he's like, in the individual matches, it's about strategy and wit. So it is a different mindset when you play those games. That's all interesting. And damn, Shinobu showed up with her Snowmaru chain. She's got everything. Super Class A. She's got her I cannot with how many patterns are on Shinobu. Her cooling scarf is polka dot. Her thermos is like houndstooth, floral. Her Snowmaru t-shirt is like just that, like with her sweats, like, oh my God, girl, there's too many pattern on patterns. I cannot. But she came here wanting to face Arata, which is funny. So Chihaya is having difficulty getting prepped for the tournament, and Nishida's like, this might not be great. And she's like, I'll just use my left hand. And Nishida's like, that's insane. You've not practiced with your left hand. Then we get our standard ab fair for the episode, which is with Arata. The individual tournament about to begin. Yeah. And then Arata's getting ready. Arata See, in Taichi's mind, Arata's giving like villain vibes, but Arata's the least villainous person in the series. He's just aloof. Shinobu's way more villainous. So they're getting the matches set up, and it is Chihaya versus you. And so Nishida's like, she's aggressive. I'm like, Nishida, you are just basically basing this off of you on your experience. So then Shinobu, I like that everybody's like, what's with the scarf? They're like, why is the queen interested? She wants to see who she's playing. And they're like, maybe it's because they stopped selling Somaru Daifuku. Oh my god. So Shoji is who she's playing. I like that they put down that it's Shoji, and he's like, wait, I'm playing. Oh wait, no, that's who Arata's playing. Okay. Arata's playing Shoji. Well, that's ironic. That's why that happened. Okay. And she's mad because she wanted it to be her. She wanted it to be her. And she's like, oh, there you are, Arata. She's like, oh, I lucked out. So in this moment here, Arata shows up, and Shinobu cockblocks any chance of them speaking at first, because she's like, oh, I lucked out. It's a good thing I didn't get paired with you in the first round. And so then she says, I would have had a taste of how much stronger you've gotten over the past few years. And Chihaya's like, what is going on? And she like does the hee-hee, tee-hee. And Arata like chuckles back like, oh yeah, because they've been talking to each other the past few days. And he's like, sure. That's how Chihaya views it. Is Chihaya going to think that they're an item? She should ask, since, she's right there. She's like, it's not just Arata. And she's like, everybody here. I'll make them admit that team tournaments are nothing serious. So Shinobu is all about proving. She's like, in true tsundere fashion, she's like, I'm not affected by yesterday's match. I'm not affected by the camaraderie. No, she's like, I'll prove them all that that's stupid. And so she has very Frieza vibes from Dragon Ball Z. I love it. I love Shinobu. She's great. She is such a fierce opponent. I love how she's like, I'll crush them all. I love how they animate her. It's amazing. So they're like, man, the queen looks so lame. Shinobu thinks she's so impressive in that moment, and nobody else is agreeing. So then this part here, they're like, was that a cooling scarf around her neck? Probably was, to keep her from overheating. That's really smart, actually. So then there's this. This frustrates me so much. Because we finally have Chihaya and Arata face to face. And she's hiding her injury. She doesn't want him to get worried. And he's like, oh, hey. And then he notices her hand, and he's about to say something. And they said, will the players please step inside? This mangaka is such a bitch. And I'm not saying that because they're a woman. I'm saying that because that is such a bitch move. Like, they are finally next to each other. And then they're like, oh, please step inside. The first round will begin soon. And he's like, okay. And as he's walking, like, I didn't expect them necessarily to talk, but like, there's no, like, the monologue here where she sees him and she's trying to hide her injury. I'm like, and she goes, okay. And he's like, Chihaya, aren't you coming? I'm like, y'all ain't seen each other in how long? And then she's like, okay, Arata. It's Arata. And yeah, she has this monologue here where she's talking about him being here, but I like that she's having to confront her idealized version of Arata on the mat in this portion of the tournament. I like that she's having to confront that idealized version of him and do something with it. I hope something comes of that. What a failed opportunity to tease us for 44 episodes and then have them not say two words to each other. Then the whole thing with Taichi, I feel like as Retro-kun is like going over like him winning and everything, Retro-kun's hilarious. I love him. But Taichi saying, why am I here? I don't feel like Taichi means to slander everybody in B class, but I think Taichi being like, I should be in the room with Chihaya and Arata, and I'm only in this room with you all because of my own inability to get past the wall that I built around myself. And I'm like, yes. So I want Taichi to just steamroll like Shinobu and just steamroll through all of them. I want Taichi to steamroll through all of them, get to class A, doing that, like, just go for doing it. Like, come on. I need him to do that. I also feel for the Empress. This is what I was talking about. She not only is having to keep up with everybody she has to take Sumire and Scuba over to a separate hall because they're novices. Then she has to make sure that Kana and Tsutomu are in this office space, like this broom closet they're competing in. Then, because I imagine there's not a lot of Class Cs. I just imagine that Class C is a weird rank. I feel like there's a lot of beginners, there's a lot of B and A's, not a lot of C's. That's just my impression of it. And then she's like, now I got to check into everybody. Like, she is hoofing it cross buildings to make sure that everybody is set to go. Okay, so we also get to see Arata's dad and mom right there. Nice. Arata looks similar to his parents. It's super cute. But yeah, he looks a lot like his grandpa. But his parents are there watching. That's great. Love that. They're here to support the players. And then, yeah, everybody from the previous matches are there. Ness looks like he's going to be excited. I like Pseudo's right in front of Ness, like, you better not mess up. And yeah, and Chihaya's in the middle against you. And meanwhile, Shoji looks like he's about to piss his pants up against Arata. We don't see who Shinobu is up against, but she's, like, behind where Chihaya is. Like, she's behind there. Do we get to see who Nishida is up against? Who is Nishida up against? I want to try to see where we can focus on people. Okay. I want to see if they'll show us with Nishida who he's up against. Okay, Nishida's up against, he's up against the weirdo guy from, the guy that faced Scuba from Fujisaki. Okay, he should be able to beat him, because he was he was barely Class A. Yeah, he was the one that lost against one of the Hokuo guys. He'll be fine. He'll be good. Shinobu's up against somebody has a yellow shirt on, I don't know. And Inamoto is up against, somebody else. So, interesting. Oh, somebody from the guy that's the bulldozer is up against Megumu. Interesting. I like all these matchups. I want to see more. So yeah, Chihaya's got to get her place and figure out. She's like, I can hear everything, but what am I going to do with my left hand? That's where we're at. And that would be difficult. That would be hard if you were used to playing right-handed and you suddenly had to use your other hand. She said, no time to practice, no time to do anything. Do I think she can beat you? Yes. Do I think it's going to be close? Of course, because that's a series. I love that we're getting into the individual matches. I've been waiting for this. I'm a little bit frustrated that after all this time that we're finally getting Arata in the story and the mangaka is choosing to do nothing with him. Just having him be there. And the only people he's really interacted with is like Shinobu, and then he tried to talk to Taichi, but Taichi's jealousy flared up, and it's like, what are we doing, show? Why? What? Anyway. I'm just flustered because I live for their interactions and I've been waiting for them to interact this whole time. And now I'm like, oh, now that they're together, we're not going to do anything. Oh, okay. Fair. Anyway, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 21 of season 2 of Chihayafuru. And I'll see you then.